Hello students, this is exercise number 89 of the legal dictations and these are the proper nouns of this exercise. Naranjan, Jaswant, Sarpanch, Sukhbir, Dilbag, Mohanjit, Harbans, Bhupendra, Lambardar, Mohindra, Hardev, Taragar, Sadar, Kurta Pajama, Pyara. This is exercise number 89 of the legal dictations on the speed of 80 words per minute for 10 minutes. Start. On the 26th December 1991, Naranjan Singh, PW2, son of Jaswant Singh, deceased, was in his house along with his father when there was a knock at the door. Naranjan Singh and his father, who happened to be the Sarpanch of the village, thereupon opened the door. Two Sikh youth, who were subsequently identified as the appellants herein, Sukhbir Singh and Dilbag Singh, were standing outside carrying AK-47 rifles. They told Jaswant Singh that he was raising an unnecessary dispute with regard to the school land, part of which was under the possession of Mohanjit Singh, Amir Singh, and Bhupendra Singh, sons of Harbans Singh, all accused. Jaswant Singh answered that he alone was not the deciding factor and the other members of the panchayat and the Lambardar be also called. Jaswant Singh was then taken towards the house of Mohinder Singh Lambardar by the two appellants, followed by Naranjan Singh. Mohinder Singh too was called out of his house, and the entire group then went on to the house of Hardev Singh, member Panchayat. Hardev Singh too was called out, and the appellants told them that the dispute should be settled then and there. They also took Jaswant Singh, Lambardar Mohinder Singh, and member Panchayat Hardev Singh towards the side of the school outside the village again, followed by Naranjan Singh. The three were thereafter told to sit on the ground, whereupon one of the appellants went to call Harbans Singh appellant. He returned about 5 minutes later, accompanied by Harbans Singh, and directed Jaswant Singh to stand up, and after telling him that he alone was not permitting Harbans Singh and his family to live peacefully and that he was attempting to construct a school building over his land. They fired a burst each from their rifles, killing Jaswant Singh on the spot. Naranjan Singh then ran away but returned after some time and, seeing his father's dead body, left for the police station. He, however, came across a police party at about 4 a.m. on the canal bridge near village Taragarh and made a statement to Inspector Jarnail Singh, PW8, and on its basis an FIR was registered at police station Sadar Batala. The special report was delivered to the magistrate in Batala itself at 6 a.m. In the FIR, Naranjan Singh stated that two Sikh youth who had killed his father were militants 25 to 30 years of age, of medium build, wearing kurta pajamas, and that he could identify them if confronted. He further stated that he suspected that Harbans Singh and his sons Mohanjeet Singh, Amir Singh, and Bhupendra Singh had entered into a conspiracy along with the appellants to commit the murder. Harbans Singh and his three sons were arrested soon after the incident, but Sukhbir Singh and Dilbag Singh were arrested on the 21st May 1992 by Sub Inspector Pyara Singh. On the completion of the investigation, all the accused were brought to trial for offences punishable under Section 302, read with Section 149 and 120B of the IPC. The prosecution, in support of its case, placed reliance on the evidence of Sukhdeep Singh, PW1, the doctor who had carried out the post mortem on the dead body, Naranjan Singh, PW2, Mohinder Singh Lambardar, PW3, who too supported the prosecution story and further stated that he had seen Harbans Singh and his sons talking to one of the appellants, and PW8 Sub Inspector Jarnail Singh, who had recorded the statement of Naranjan Singh near the Canal Minor Bridge and which had led to the registration of the formal FIR. The trial court, relying on the aforesaid evidence, convicted all the accused for offences punishable under Section 120B of the IPC and sentenced them to RI of 7 years and to fine Sukhbir Singh and Dilbag Singh, appellants under Section 302 of the IPC, and sentenced them to life imprisonment along with fine, and Harbans Singh, Mohanjeet Singh, Amir Singh, and Bhupinder Singh under Section 302 of the IPC, also to serve a life sentence. The matter was thereafter taken in appeal to the High Court, and during the pendency of the appeal, Harbans Singh passed away. The appeal against him was dismissed as having abetted. The High Court observed that there was no delay in the lodging of the FIR, in which the names of the accused Harbans Singh, Mohanjit Singh, Amir Singh, Bhupinder Singh, alias Shastri had been mentioned.